Welcome back to the Empty the Quiver podcast, your front row seats to everything Utah Archers. From game recaps to standout performances, we'll be your guide to all things orange and blue. Let's let it fly. JB, back after a little bit of a hiatus, but back talking our favorite thing in the world, Utah Archers. How's it been?
Happy spring. It's
I
sunny.
know.
If you see sun come in my eyes, it's finally out there after a
I
very
know.
gray, cold winter.
Yes, daylight savings time has been awesome. Been trying to play a little golf in the evenings, but yeah,
Hold on.
it's been great.
You've played golf?
Yeah, oh yeah.
South Carolina life. I'm in Pennsylvania. I've not even sniffed the golf course yet. Um, Tomorrow's supposed to be 70 degrees, and then it immediately goes back to 50, then 40, then maybe 50 again. It's like that fake spring before spring really hits for us.
Right. Well, listen, spring's around the corner, and you know what that means. PLL lacrosse starting, and we're talking about less than 2 months here.
I
I
was
mean,
gonna
we're
say
20 days away from the draft.
two and a half weeks till the draft. Yes.
I know, I know. I think that's what we're going to get into today. I mean, obviously, not a great season last year, but only one team can win the championship, and so we got the next best thing, which is the number one overall pick. Now, admittedly, this isn't either of our favorite classes in the last couple of years. There's not really a clear number one, and really, the top two defensive prospects have gone down with injury this year. Pretty serious ones too. I think they're both ACLs. So not looking great for them to play this summer. So it's really going to not limit, but you kind of funnel, who's going to be there at the top of the draft. So why don't you? We're gonna kind of reference Adam Lamberti's mock draft that came out the other day here. So why don't you kind of run us through the first round, and then we'll hit on, obviously we pick at one, but we'll kind of hit on everybody else and just kind of see what we think.
Yeah, so obviously at the top we have Utah. We got the first overall pick. Everybody's been talking about Joey Spallina for the last 3 years. I feel like the hype has been there for 3 years. It's one of those things where ever since he stepped on the field at Syracuse, he's been a goal scorer. Utah's offense was the worst in the league last year, so it seems like a match made in heaven. I don't know if it's that easy. Chris Bates never makes it that easy. He's surprised us in the past with some things, so I don't know how you're feeling about the first overall pick. I do think we should look ahead though and talk about the eight. The nice thing about 8 teams in the league is that we can kind of break down the entire first round in a short period of time, and also potentially talk about trades. Chris Bates has also made some trades before. You saw that with California 2 years ago. I think it'd be cool if we did something to move back and get more pieces, but you can only speculate at this point, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. And obviously last year the trade in the first round too to move up to Lavelle. So yeah, and obviously the guy on the other end that is kind of projected to obviously want to move up to take his son is his nickname's Trader Joe. I mean, all the pieces are lining up there to say, hey, here's your son at one, especially now that there's not a clear cut number one defensive prospect. Obviously, we're kind of operating under the assumption that Graham Hossack is not going to be back this season. I feel like he would have resigned already. And so there is going to be a hole, in our defense, and it's a cyborg-sized hole, defensive player of the year award-sized hole. So obviously, there may have been some speculation, Bobby Van Buren, Will Schaller. Both of those guys are the two that I was talking about, both torn ACLs. They're not going to play this summer. So now we're really kind of locked in on finding a guy to help us score more goals. Obviously, you have to win, or you have to score more goals than the other team to win, and we had a problem doing that last year. So, it's kind of a top class of Spallina, then Mikey Weishar from Towson, Silas Richmond at Albany, other guys like Matt Collison, Michael Leo. So I don't know. Let's run down the whole first round, and then we'll kind of talk about where we think some of these guys are going to end up going.
Yeah. Second is Boston. We think Boston has a pretty big need. They did not re-sign Epple. Don't know if they will, if it's just the league not sharing that with us right now, but you'd think they're going to take a poll. like you had mentioned, it's a domino effect. When both Schaller and BVB go down, now it not only impacts us at one, we're not going to take a poll at one, I don't think. Like I said, domino effect. Alex Ross from Penn State, you have Smith from Richmond, Billy Dwan from Syracuse are the top three names on the big board. If they go chalk, I would say one of them goes to Boston. But
Yep.
again, the number one prospect overall could potentially be Aiden McGuire. He's been up there for 12 straight months now. Every time you look at prospects in lacrosse, he's listed first. So he's a stud, but short stick defensive midfielders, it's not the sexy pick at one, and it's not something you expect. But again, it's not always Brennan O'Neill's and Colin Schellenberger's and CJ Kirst's. Sometimes, if you think back to 23, Gavin Adler went first, and
Yep.
he was a stud in New York. They won a championship a couple of years later. So
Well, they came back around and took Brett Makar at 3. So, I mean, they really shored up that into the field. So, yeah, I think I agree with you. I think there's a huge need at defense for them. Does that just kind of, like you said, springboard Alex Ross up? I mean, Adam Lamberti has him, Joey Spallina at 1 to the Archers, Mikey Weishar at 2 to the Cannons, Aiden McGuire at 3 to the Whipsnakes, Silas Richmond at 4 to the Chaos, Matt Collison at 5 to the Water Dogs, Michael Leo at 6 to the Redwoods, Alex Ross at 7 to the Outlaws, and Will Donovan at number 8 to the defending champion Atlas.
well, let's talk Boston again then. So at 2, yes, they have a hole in their defense. They need to shore that up. But at the same time, they do have an aging offense, and like Marcus Holman's not getting younger. They went offense last year in the first round, but Mikey Weishart, he's got 129 goals in college. That's the exact same number that Joey Spallina has. Granted, Joey Spallina has 166 assists to, I think, 66. So it's a big difference there when it comes to playing quarterback, the facilitator that Spallina is. But if you're talking about ball in the back of the net, Mikey Weishart will score. So
Well, and he gives you that flexibility to play attack and midfield. I feel like, Joey Spallina's skill set, it's a little bit more tailored to playing attack. But I think you get the flexibility with Weishart too. Not that I think that's going to be the pick. Like I said, I think it's going to be a pull. I do like the pick at 3 to the Whipsnakes. I can't even remember what Bernhardt brother that is that plays D mid for them, but he's definitely getting a little older. He's been around since the league started and before that. And I also
that's
think
Aiden McGuire to Maryland,
yeah, and
which is
I
an
also
absolute
think
steal because he could be the
absolutely.
best player, and getting him third is big.
Yeah, he's a game changer. I mean, he reminds me a lot of like a Danny Logan or a Bo or a Tarasenko or even a Tevlin. I mean, those are the clear cut like alpha D mids in the league.
Those guys,
he fits that mold.
they aren't going to be in the headlines every single week like a Danny Logan, like you just said.
Yeah,
Tevlin in California. They're the guys that make that team significantly better without getting the recognition of the guys that score the goals.
well,
But
it's
you
like
need
a cornerback in football. I mean, the good ones you don't ever hear their names because they're not getting touchdowns scored over them.
right.
It's the same thing. I mean, obviously, you throw 4 poles and 2 shorties out there on defense. You dodge the shorties. They're going to see a lot of action, and the good ones, really kind of put a hamper on that. Joe Keegan talks about drawing up the play that is dodge anyone but 91. Danny Logan, and I think I could see that being Aiden McGuire in the league as well. Silas Richmond is a fun one at 4. Definitely just a super creative player. Definitely going to help their offense out a lot. I think they're definitely still a few pieces away. They were kind of finding their stride a little bit last year. Obviously, they made the playoffs, made the Champ Series, won the Champ Series.
So am I right here to Carolina's new coach? Did he go to college at Syracuse? I think he did. I could
think
be
that's
wrong.
right.
I think he
that's
did.
right.
In which case, Michael Leo potentially at the 4, because he's been great at Syracuse this year, and he's on the big
Definitely.
board. Let's see what he's ranked 4th as a midfielder. He scores goals. I mean, he's got Spallina. Spallina has all of those assists. They're going to someone. They went to Owen Hills last year. They're going to Michael Leo a lot this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he went 4th. but
Yeah,
it all
could
depends.
definitely see that. I mean, like I said, I think there's kind of that top group of five. Um, the Spallina, Weishar, Richmond, Collis, and Leo is. I feel like they're. I read an article the other day. That there really hasn't been a standout guy. Now, obviously, you get the pedigree with Spallina, not in the sense of his dad, but Syracuse hadn't been. I think would they go to the Final Four last year?
I'm trying to remember. The finals was Cornell and Maryland, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so they were in the Final Four. That was the interview after they won to get to the Final Four, where Spallina was interviewed and talked about slaying that dragon. So, yeah, it's interesting because the college season's there's so much left to it, and
yeah,
these players, you're going to have guys emerge as stars, especially once we get to the bracket and everybody's watching.
yeah.
You didn't mention Palumbo from Princeton. He's on the big board. We got a message from our friend out in California. Brad came to the East Coast to watch some college lacrosse last weekend, and he said, "This Palumbo guy, who is this? This is the best guy on the field." I looked him up on the big board. I'm like, well, he's projected to go in the top 10. So that's
Yeah.
another name where it's different than your other pro sports where you know that top, like there's 32 teams, 30 teams, and you know basically who all the first rounders are. When there's only 8, it could be a wide variety of guys, and that's why you
Yeah.
sometimes get the shock with a
Yeah.
guy where you don't really know who they are until you look them up.
I mean, nobody expected us to take Woodward in the first round.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
say
mean,
Mason Woodward's a perfect example, and I'm glad we did. That's for sure.
yeah, no, he's been awesome. So, and then we'll go back to Matt Collison at 5 to the Water Dogs. Same thing. I mean, obviously there's some attack, there's some midfield kind of mixed in, but I mean these guys put the ball in the back of the net, and they're all kind of interchangeable, based on fit. I do think the Water Dogs have an embarrassment of riches on offense and really defense. Obviously, they were the winners of the Gavin Adler sweepstakes last year. So I think they have the luxury of going best available. If I was Vegas, that Water Dogs team is my favorite to win the championship this year, just purely on numbers. Obviously, Utah's going to come out and ride Brett Dobson like we have in the playoffs for forever. But, looking at they have C.J. Kurst, they have Zed Williams, they have Michael Sowers, they have Kieran McCardle. I mean, it's unbelievable.
You forget they have Zed because he didn't play last year. But to add him,
Yeah.
I was thinking when I was just looking at the draft order, the first team I had, what you just referenced as best available, because you don't really have needs. I had New York there at 8. They just won the championship. I know they lost
Yeah.
Adler, but like we talked before, you had told me that they picked up Gobrecht from Philly. If best available is truly what Philly has the ability to take, they could also take the LSM from Notre Dame.
Yeah,
What's
absolutely.
his name? Donovan?
Yep.
He is who I think the mock draft put him 8th to New York.
Yes.
So I think the reason for that, though, is because when you look at the rankings, he's the only guy in the top 3 or 4 by 5th. He's 5th overall on the big board. If he's still there at 8, you take him. But if it's best available and you're
Yeah.
5th, he could go there.
I know, but New York is such an LSM factory. I mean, they've had Tyler Carpenter, and then they had Michael Grace last year. They've had Colby Smith. I mean, they've had some stud LSMs. Now we'll see, what the shakeup is. I think Gobrecht was playing a little bit more LSM. I think he was even playing short stick last year. So we'll kind of see, what that is. But LSM is not a position of need, in my opinion, for New York. I think. There's a potential that Xander Dixon still misses a little bit of time. I know that leg injury was gross. It was great to see him on the sidelines moving around, coaching in Champ Series. But
He didn't
I
even have a
think
boot on, did he? He was just walking around.
I
It didn't
think
look like
that's
he had
right.
any, which good for him, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Do you think Atlas take Will Schaller and just wait a year? Because he's that
Man.
good.
If you gave me over under 16 and a half draft position, I think is too easy. I think you could even say
10 or 11 and a
maybe
half.
even 12 and a half, I think would be a
Yeah.
good line. And I think I'm going inside the top 12.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's supposed to be that good, and he's going to be a number one stopper and all that. They have him. Lamberti has him mocked at 11 to the Whip Snakes because they're a team that has the luxury of being able to sit on him for a year. They have Ajax and Matt Dunn and Tim Muller. Those last two guys are getting a little bit older, so you kind of are succession planning there a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think there's teams that would take that chance. I mean, it's just like the Redwoods taking Cole Kastner. I mean, obviously that was a much different pick at 32, but knowing that he was going to come play for you and had intentions of being, a lacrosse player at least for a little bit. So I mean, really, if I had to give you my mock draft right now, I think we take Spallina at 1. I think the Cannons have to take Alex Ross at 2. And I think the Whips still take McGuire at 3, and then you really run into the log jam. The Chaos have their pick of now Weishar, Richmond, Collison, Leo. I mean, I think that best fit. Same at 5 to the Water Dogs, the Redwoods. I think they could, a little bit more help in the midfield. So they're probably taking one of those guys again too. And then you start looking at Denver. I like their midfield as much as I like. Don't want to talk about our Rocky Mountain rivals like that. I think they have a nice midfield, and I think you have to start succession planning behind their 2 poles as well. So that's kind of where I would look.
I have Hunter Smith to Denver at 7.
Yeah,
I think at that point he'll be the pole that's there. I also wouldn't be surprised if they sit on Will Schaller, just knowing they're good enough today to go to the championship.
Yeah,
and to add Schaller next year, that team's just nasty at that point.
Giles Harrison, Schaller would be gross. And then New York at 8. I don't think the pick's Will Donovan. I think they have 2 great LSMs. I don't think you take another one. So I think they probably go offense. And then really the question then is who do we take at 9? There are names.
You haven't mentioned Eric Spanos from Maryland. He's listed as an attackman.
He's mocked at 13 to the Water Dogs.
Okay.
I like Billy Dwan. I think, obviously, like I was talking about at the beginning, there's a Hossack-sized hole in the defense. So, like I said, we may have been considering Schaller at 1. Now, obviously, that's probably not an option. So I like Dwan at 9. Hunter Smith is there. Even a guy like Colin Brown. I mean, you and I were talking the other day. Ohio State's defense has been awesome. Now, how much of that is goalie play too? But was
that right? They only let 5 goals in last game. They win 6.
Well, they played. That was Rutgers, but yeah, I mean, still in a collegiate lacrosse game, I think that's a pretty impressive defensive tally.
I feel like every time I open up Inside Lacrosse and look at the box scores, the Ohio State game is incredibly low scoring, and I always think it's in the first half and it's finished. It's like Big Tasty just shut him down. Yeah, I'm curious to see if next year when he graduates, if he's going to come to the PLL.
Yeah, and then another thing I like about Colin Brown too is he's listed as a defense and an LSM. Obviously, the Archers have long been fans of guys that can do multiple things. Obviously, Woodward could, he played down low his first year and he played LSM last year. We've got plenty of guys that can play attack or midfield. So I think a versatility play that's a great one there with Brown. But I do think we go offense defense in round 1 than round 2. I think those are 2 areas of need for sure. And unfortunately, there's just not a guy to take at 1 to fill the defense need.
A good segue from saying offense is the need. Let's dive deeper into the potential trade of the number 1 pick.
Yeah. So I've seen it asked a couple different times, a couple different ways, and I see it from both sides. I mean, so the offer that people have been putting out is the number 1 pick for Chris Cavanaugh and the 6th overall pick in the draft. Now I see it both ways. Obviously, you know, we hold the pick. We hold the keys to Joey Spallina. If Big Joe wants him, he's going to have to come get him. And I think the pick gets traded on draft day. I just think that'd be a cool story. But I mean, I'm definitely taking that offer because would I rather take Chris Kavanaugh or Joey Spallina? I think I'd like to have Chris Kavanaugh, especially knowing what he did against pros in year one. Now, obviously, that's a great. They had a great offense. Dylan Malloy had a resurgent year. Ryder Garnsey is always just kind of that gnat in your ear. Just kind of hanging around. But I mean, Chris Cav had 37 points last year. It's 13 more than Sam King had last year, and he was our top scorer.
Let's go back to Malloy, Garnsey. They have Westberg. Westberg's 32. Dylan Malloy's 30. Ryder Garnsey's 30. They have Chris Cav, who's 22. They have McAdory, who's 24. They have Sam English, who's 25. When you're looking at just attackmen, we don't talk about McAdory and English at the midfield, to have Chris Cav at age 22 with the three guys that are over 30 to give up their only young offensive player. Of course, that would mean they're getting Joey Spallina, but what if they offered a top defender? Because initially we thought Utah was going to take potentially Will Schaller before he got hurt, right? So
Yeah.
if they give us that 32nd pick in 24 back,
Right.
do you think?
I'd be very in for Cole Kastner as well. I mean, I think I would take McAdory. I mean, obviously that doesn't. Well, I mean, I don't think we really have an attack problem. We were just hurt last year, but I think they've had a great defense. I would have loved to have signed Chris Fake in free agency. I don't think that and the pick are worth trading the number one pick for. I do think it would have to be Kastner.
Because then you get Kastner and the number 6 pick.
Yes.
So at 6, you can still add a piece who's going to score goals.
Weishar Richmond, Collison, or who's the other one?
You got Palumbo, you've got Spanos as an attackman.
Yep.
Michael Leo, I mean, yeah, there's guys that score goals. It's all going to be like how last year, anytime you're deciding who gets picked when, you're looking at the draft order as it stands. The second the trade happens, again, domino effect. Now everything else gets mixed up and those players jump up a spot, they go down a spot, depending on what those teams need. So it's easy to draw it out, here's how it should go, and then the second that we hear Chris Bates makes a trade, mix it up, because now you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, and so if it is Chris Kavanaugh in the 6th pick, I think it's Chris Cav, Fields, and O'Keefe, kind of reminiscent. And then we move Matt Moore back to the midfield with Trey and Grant and Tom and Dyson and whoever that six guy ends up being. I like that midfield a lot. I mean, I don't know who you decide that you're going to throw the long stick at, and then who you let dodge on shorties. But I like that a lot. I mean, if it's McAdory, which I don't think it is, I think he's going to keep his Team 91 guys. But we keep Matt Moore and we just plug McAdory into the midfield, and we take probably Alex. Well, I think Alex Ross goes at 2, so we take a Dwan or Hunter Smith. I think if we trade, we take a defensive player at 6, and if I'm being honest with you, I would probably trade 1 and 9 for Kavanaugh in the 6th pick. I mean, I don't want to put any ideas in anybody's head, but I think
it wouldn't be the first time a Kavanaugh plays his rookie year for a team and then leaves that team.
Yeah,
so.
And has a great year the next year.
But again, are you nervous if that is the deal, that a couple of years from now, Chris Cav's now a free agent, and he says, hey, Pat, where do you want to play? Should I come to Denver? Do you want to go somewhere else? Do you want to come to Utah? the ability of these players once that rookie contract ends, like you just watched it with Gavin Adler.
Yeah.
He's such a huge piece of the defense in New York, and he wanted out, so he left. And I'm not saying that Chris Cav would ever want out, but it's something to consider when you see the family ties and you see like how Marcus Holman went to Boston to play with his dad. You have
Well, the same argument can be made about Joey Spallina. And what happens with him? Well, it's a year longer.
yeah,
but
that's a great point. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think if we pick up Chris Cav, and then we take a poll at 6. I mean, obviously, I think we were like the 7th, or the second worst odds to win the championship. I think we jumped in the top 3 easily, with just that addition. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting to follow. I'm super excited about it.
April 14th. And
Yep.
to give the teaser, we won't give the details today, but we're going to run a little draft day contest. So listen to this and absorb as much as you can. Not saying we have any idea what's actually going to happen, but if you can figure out who gets picked when, you might win our contest.
Yeah,
Coming soon.
it's gonna be awesome. All right. Well, you want to hit a card and call it a day?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I let you go first last time, and I'm going first because I always try to pick something that I think will be relevant to what we just talked about. So I had no choice but to give the Team USA Joey Spallina autograph card. Shout out TFL. Great cards. They're producing a Syracuse set that has Joey Spallina in it as well. I think that comes out in the next week or so. Yeah, that card came out. I guess it was last spring or last winter. They produced them. I remember I got that one last March, so a year ago today. It's a great card.
Yeah. Well, and, kind of staying with the draft and really the trade kind of theme. I have the guy that we traded up for last year, a little numbered out of 10, Brennan Lavelle. Super excited with him. I mean, he and Warren have big shoes to fill next year, but I think they're ready.
That red really pops. I love the 10s.
Yeah.
And since there's only 10 of them, it's so hard to find them, but the red really, it's every set has the 10 as the red, and it's always the best card. Unless you can find a 1, but
Right.
good luck.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, definitely wanted to apologize for missing last week and a little bit of a delay this week, but that's life. But we're going to hopefully try and release, kind of get back on the schedule of Tuesday releases. Have some pretty cool interviews coming up. Don't hold us to that, but I think we're going to get them. And yeah, I mean, you want to take us out?
Exciting. It's gonna be worth tuning in for some of the people we've got lined up. No spoilers.
Yeah, that's right.
To be determined.
That's right. All right, JB, take us out.
As always, let it fly.
Let it fly, baby.